Have you been in Texas the whole time during the pandemic? Has this been?
Yes, we were here certainly. I mean, the biggest difference is simply mobility is challenging now. Getting where you want to go. We had planned on having a great time at Aggie Sports. We enjoyed about a dozen games, baseball and softball, before things changed. We were just starting conference play, and it ended. And
Totally.
So, and it's been a little more boring, perhaps, than you might want it to be, with less things to do. For a while, restaurants were closed. That's not quite true now. We have restaurants open with reduced capacity, certainly in the area. So we eat out maybe once a week, something like that. We we stay together, my wife and I, of course, all the time, but she rides a horse almost every day. So she goes off to her barn and rides a horse for a while. That's her of enjoyment and training. I stay here at the house or go to meetings by Zoom or sometimes physically. I'm trying to write a few things, and that keeps me busy. I'm involved with Zoom calls usually a few times a day like this one, so this is common for me as well. So I mostly work out of my office where I am right now. It's a comfortable place to be. We're very happy here right now, just missing the attributes of a completely open environment that we intended to come back to here.
Sure.
I no doubt in my mind that we're going to get past all this ultimately. And we'll have life not totally back to where it once was, at least somewhat more normal than it's been for a while.
Where are things at the school right now with everything, classes and?
They reopened. They opened up the campus about a week earlier than normally would be the case. Enrollment here is up, I think, over last year. So that's
wow.
Datum.
Okay, that's interesting.
Are taking a lot of online courses. I taught a class yesterday, for example, as just a guest lecturer. One time this class on campus, I had perhaps 3/4 of the class was in front of me, and 1/4 was on Zoom, interacting that way. Other classes are almost totally online as far as the lecture part of the course is concerned. Laboratories are largely in person, but some of those actually are virtual as well. But most of those are in person. So every student you talk to here will probably be doing a sort of a hybrid circumstance. They'll be in class a lot by Zoom. They'll also be going to certain classes or going to certain laboratories during the course of the week for in-person type experiences. The case is well over 1,000, which is surprising given the size of the campus.
Do you think that's the future? Like, do you think that it'll kind of be a hybrid moving forward, sort of thing?
It's hard to go back again. I mean, for example, so rolling out of bed and getting dressed and going to class at 9 o'clock in the morning, a student can kind of roll over, grab their laptop, and go to class right there. That's a hard thing to compete with. I mean, you're a pretty young guy. You appreciate how it is. I mean, students, really, their lives are somewhat offset from mine. Their peak is probably late afternoon. If they get their druthers, they'd rather just get up afternoon for classes and such and spend their evenings studying, working, or socializing. That's just very common. A&M has not had a history of online education in the large. They've had pieces of it. The Bush School, for example, a government public service, has had a fairly robust graduate program that's online, but they're strictly graduate. The undergraduates here have traditionally, until very recently, been in a physical seat, in a physical classroom with a physical person in front of them, walking them through whatever material they're studying that day. That's been the norm here. And online education has been a pretty small thing. At Mizzou, where I was for a time, very different model there. They have a lot more online courses available, and the average student took at least one online course per semester, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They wanted the flexibility of scheduling. They wanted a part-time job. They wanted to go to organizational meetings, things like that. They had things they wanted to do, and classes every day of the week got in the way of that, and they would manage their schedule by taking at least one online course per semester. That wasn't the culture here at Texas A&M, but I'm guessing as we go back to normal, whatever that is, we will have this memory going with us saying, hey, I like the idea of being able to stay in bed in Thursday mornings, not go to my class at 9 o'clock and do my class right there online. I suspect that's going to become a difficult thing to get away from once we've now experienced it during this time.
Yeah, that's so interesting. This hybrid learning sort of thing that'll stay around because of its flexibility. It's interesting to see how education is going to move forward with technology, because I'm assuming this is only the beginning, right? The Zooms,
It has to. I mean, again, we've been doing it a long time. I've done it for a long time, but the majority of faculty don't do it, haven't done it until they've been forced into it, rather without a lot of preparation sometimes, and it probably shows in the quality of what's there. But they'll get better at it. They'll figure it out. And so I don't see this going away. I think it'll change from the moment we're at right now. But I suspect much more balance will exist at every school, including Texas A&M, between online and in-person learning. That's just going to be a fact of how we do education going forward. And it's freeing in many respects. I mean, again, you have the time then to manage differently. You can have a part-time job during the day if you want to, because you've got the online class you can get to when you're not working. You can have 3 clubs or 3 organizations and do things.
Exactly.
The athletes have been doing it for quite a while. Student athletes who travel to games, things like that, are familiar with online education because they have no choice sometimes but to do it. And they're certainly able to compete right now because they're isolating themselves in many cases from their normal friends and haunts, and by doing so are being forced to use the online resources they've had before. This isn't different for them in many respects. I'm sure they miss their friends and things like that, but hopefully that part will come back again, because I think going to a college university is not just going to class. It's learning about life. It's meeting perhaps a life partner. A lot of lessons learned when you're at a place like this between 18 and 22 years of age that you don't necessarily get at home or in the workplace by itself. And so I think coming to a place will not go away. Universities like this will continue to have a place to be, but it'll be a little bit different in the future than it's been in the past for many of us like Texas A&M.